Three, two, one.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter. I hope you guys are all having a great weekend, whenever you're listening to this. I'm gonna, full disclosure, I've got a review here for AmbuLAnce coming in right now, and I've got a friend of the show. He's been on a couple times. You can catch out his own podcast, Mission Impodible, wherever you listen to podcasts. Nathan, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. I'm fucking stoked, man. I weirdly did more research for this movie than I expected to for this podcast because it was supposed to come out in like January, and I was like, I'm the one person who will go to bat for like Bay as not being the worst director in the world. So I watched all his movies.
So let's have that conversation real quick. The people who go, yes, I understand Michael Bay has made some shitty shit. It's weirdly fascinating his career as a producer because he produces a lot of good shit, like great shit. Like,
yeah, Platinum Dunes gets a bad rap for what stinkers they have, and because Michael Bay's name is on there, but obviously A Quiet Place. But I think his those early horror remakes that he did, the Friday the 13th one and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, are very like sleek and well produced movies.
Agreed. And I think people the Friday the 13th movie just didn't want to hear like, oh, Freddy's a pedophile. It's like, well, yeah, if you even watch the original, like they don't come.
Oh, you got it swapped. Nightmare on Elm Street.
That's what I meant. My bad. That's right. Friday the 13th is Jason. That's right. My bad. Full disclosure, people, I tried out this new elixir. I'm much higher than I thought I was going to be, so we're going to kind of just zoom. We'll see.
I got my wine, and no matter what happens, we're not as high as Jake Gyllenhaal in this movie.
That is very true because, goddamn, it's kind of fat. Okay, so real quick before I go back, we go get to Gyllenhaal. Like Black Sails is a show that I actually really enjoyed. Shockingly enough,
is he involved in that one?
Yeah, he's a producer on that show.
No kidding.
Yeah. That and The Last Ship, which The Last Ship actually wasn't bad. I was like, okay, like Bay produced and I never reviewed it proper for the channel, but I thought the Forever Purge actually was shockingly good. I think Frank Grilla's on that one. I'll admit the Purges kind of blend together after a certain point, but yeah, like, oh no, he's not in that one. I think he produced the one that the first Purge that does have Frank Grillo in it too, though. But yeah, Bay has been a talented dude for a minute, but you drew this comparison, and we've both talked about it, and I agree with you 1,000%. The highs of Michael Bay for me definitely balance out the lows. And look, the lows, Transformers The Last Night is the one that immediately comes to mind, which just angers me beyond what I can put into words. You can check out the review of it. But you look at the Bad Boys movies, 1 and 2, those are fucking great. You look at Armageddon, I know people give Armageddon shit. I dig Armageddon. I think that
Armageddon is a comedy. People freak out and they're like, it takes itself too seriously. It's like, no, it doesn't.
It really doesn't. It's so cheesy, but in the best way. Yeah. I mean,
The Rock,
literally
Pain and Gain.
Yeah, I was literally about to bring up The Rock. Pain and Gain, I actually went back and rewatched at your recommendation, and that I did enjoy it more than I remember. I just hate Wahlberg in that movie because Wahlberg's just one of those actors who just can derail film for me, and I fully acknowledge that.
See, to me, that's like Wahlberg at his best level, where he plays like a low status person who has no idea that he is not the big fish, and just keeps constantly trying to like. I mean, he's so good at lying to himself, but I always just find like when he has that one line, oh my gosh, that he says to Rob Corddry, where he's like, "What the fuck are notaries, man?"
Oh, that's right. Okay, that is actually a funny line. Yeah,
there's just so much great stuff. But that movie is an interesting situation, and is sort of I consider to be the defining text of his career, because that's really his biggest passion project. And that was going to be his movie after Armageddon, as opposed to Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, okay, admittedly,
and you think about that trajectory.
Well, that's a fascinating question, because if you do that after Armageddon, then we don't get Mackie, we don't get Johnson.
Oh yeah, we'd have a weird cast, but
yeah,
but I think Bay would probably be better received as a director for sure.
Because Pearl Harbor was like the first time I kind of went, okay, dude, like what are you doing? And
Armageddon was kind of, I believe there was an article literally that was put out that was just, is Michael Bay the devil after Armageddon came out?
I do remember that being a thing, because I remember going and seeing Armageddon in theaters as a kid and going like, man, that was really like, and I'm not a huge Aerosmith fan, but that, I don't want to miss a thing when Will's like, take care of her. It's like, again, not so she's like a motherfucker, but it's damn good macho, but it's damn good macho cheese. And that was totally. And that was one of those first projects, I think, for a lot of people, where people kind of saw Affleck and went, okay, there are dramatic beats that he does have to nail, and he nails them in that movie. Again, say what you will about the rest of the film, but Michael Clark Duncan's great in that.
Steve Buscemi, yeah, you go through the whole cast, it's fantastic, from top to bottom.
Like, it really is, I think, a much better film than people do give it credit for. But that takes us to here. So Jake Gyllenhaal, who, I'll be real, that's another dude I just kind of go, why don't we give Gyllenhaal more credit? Because Gyllenhaal's kind of one of the best, actually not kind of, it's one of the best actors that we have. Like, I know Taylor Swift hates him, but whatever. But like, he's between Nightcrawler, Stronger, Prisoners, I mean, Donnie Darko, obviously, Brokeback, I mean, and that's just a couple, off the top.
I mean,
off the top.
That I, whenever I bring up an MCU film, you guys are immediately like, oh, where's the shoe gonna drop? But Spider-Man No Way Home, that's a fucking gonzo performance in there, and he's certainly like, he's capable of being like, relaxed and giving like a nuanced performance, but also if anybody tells him to go absolutely fucking bug nuts, he goes bug nuts. And in this movie, he certainly is like apt for everything Bay throws at him, which is really unique for Michael Bay, because often he has actors who are more concerned with how they look as a movie star.
And Gyllenhaal's kind of selfless in that way. Like, he's willing to give himself to the screen. I mean, the fucker did Bubble Boy, which no one ever brings up, and that would be one of the first things I ask his ass about it. Like, dude, how did Bubble Boy come across to you? Because
that's the first movie I ever saw him in. But he really went all in with this one, because he even held the camera for a lot of the scenes in the ambulance, because they just could not fit. Yeah, he was.
Oh, I didn't. Okay,
people are arguing that he should be like co-director credit on this.
That's fascinating. So, okay, let's get in this movie. It's a very simple plot. So, Yanya, I'm gonna butcher your name, brother. I'm sorry.
I got you. It's Yaha Abdul Mateen.
Thank you. The second. He, of course, Black Manta. That's what most people, know him from. Trial Chicago 7, which is not a great
Watchmen,
movie, no spoilers.
No spoilers.
I have not seen it yet. I know.
But he's good in Watchmen.
And I always think about The Get Down, which I was really bummed that show got canceled, but he's great in that as well. But he plays Will Sharp, who volunteered for the military, comes back home, and okay. Michael Bay, this is maybe the most, oh God, I guess I'll go on this limb. It's the most socially conscious Bay has been maybe ever.
Ever? I would go ever for sure.
Because I'm sitting there watching this. So I did a double feature of this and Everything All at Once, that Michelle Yeoh movie that I'm going to review her at some point. But this was the second movie I saw the double feature. And I'm sitting here and watching it. I'm going, okay, Michael Bay, let's be real, has a tendency to be a little sexist, a little racist. And so I'm sitting there watching the movie going, all right, when are these bad habit's gonna like creep up. And I gotta give the dude credit. They don't. Like, to a shocking extent, they don't. And not only do they not creep up, there are actual points where you expect them to creep up, or someone in the film brings these things up, and he immediately shuts that shit down.
I think we're talking about the same moment, because there's like one moment where I was sitting in the theater and somebody's like, well, we should explain. Jake Gyllenhaal is his adoptive brother. And as they go through, they were both raised by a bank robber. There's not a small hook to a movie that Michael Bay can't overstuff to 2 hours.
You're not wrong.
This movie has no qualms with introducing entire characters at like the 80-minute mark.
Yeah, why? Yeah, because like the whole like FBI team are introduced like 75% of the way home, and it's like, oh yeah, all right.
This movie is nuts. It's his most restrained movie, and that should make you roll your eyes when you watch this movie, which is an epic on every scale. But they're both brothers, and Will Sharp is having an awful time trying to get his daughter's treatment for, she's got some sickness. They never explain what it is. He needs money to pay for it all. He tries to ask for a loan from his brother, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, who seems to have just arrived out of a bag of cocaine. That was also the screenwriter for this movie.
So let's talk about that. This is almost bordering on being a crank film with how frantic everything feels. And I mean that as a compliment, because when Gyllenhaal, this is something that I love about him in Nightcrawler and in Far From Home, or No Way Home. No Way Home? Fuck.
No, you had it. You had the first time. I always fuck it up too. Stop using home as a title thing. We're done with
Marvel,
it.
Sony, what the fuck? But in No Way Home, when he figures out Peter Parker and all that shit, and that gear switches, it's basically that gear, but he's in it from jump with a few quips that really actually work. There's this point where he's talking to what's her name, Isa Gonzalez,
Isa Gonzalez, who's technically the hero of this movie, which is interesting.
Incredible. There's this point where she throws out this retort, and he goes, like, oh well, I wish I didn't have herpes, but we have to deal with the cards we're dealt. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's played as a joke, but it's funny, and so
this is cashmere.
Yeah, like Gyllenhaal is. Okay, I'm not gonna say all-time great performance by Gyllenhaal, but this makes me want to see him and Bay work together again. Like, it was like in a way that I was not expecting when I entered the movie. I was like, wow, you actually, like, where has this been? Like, Bay, okay. So how obviously Scorsese has Leo, and like other directors have, their actors, their core group that they like to work with, Apatow, whoever. I really hope that Gyllenhaal and Bay are like, let's keep this going. Let's do this again in a couple of years.
He found his guy. He thought it was Mark Wahlberg for a little bit, because that's why he did the 2 Transformers movies. He's like, well,
I didn't know that. Really,
that's what Mark's the guy.
Interesting.
If I get a guy that I like on board, and Hollywood, they're never going to listen to this, but Hollywood, please don't think like Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Bay need to make more Transformers movies. Let's
keep it for original.
Let's keep Bay away from Toyland.
Yeah, well said. But what I actually like about this movie is it kind of gives me those American Gangster vibes, in the sense of, yes, obviously robbing banks is wrong. Totally, like, we totally get that. That's bad. But when Will is talking about his partner and how she needs the surgery and how hard it is to get through this insurance company, even try to figure out an alternative like option, it does feed into the whole lie that we have as America, where we go, hey, if you fight for our country, we'll take care of you. And it's like, well, no, actually, apparently not. And so when he gets roped into, this one last heist, of course, with Danny, you go, yeah, this is wrong, but you got screwed in a way that you shouldn't be. And there's
we should we're 14 minutes in. We should definitely just explain the small hook so we can just go all in.
Go
So
ahead.
I'll just get us through this real quick. So basically, once he asked for the loan from his brother is like, okay, well, what you can do is help me out with this job. We're robbing a bank. And he's like, I don't know if I want to be a part of this. He's like, well, I got everything on here, and this thing needs another guy. So they go in. The heist goes wrong in a way that weirdly relates to Michael Bay films. Like a Michael Bay film is the reason the heist goes wrong, which is like the most dick-sucking thing I've ever seen. Oh my God, it's so funny.
That was so hilariously like meta inside of being meta. I was like, wow, this weirdly works somehow.
But it goes wrong. It basically becomes heat in the beginning of this like bank heist, and they shoot a cop, and the cop is picked up by an ambulance that they later hijack, and Yaha, defending his brother, had shot the cop earlier, and this cop is just casually, bleeding out as this EMT played by Isa Gonzalez, who's technically the hero of the movie, as I said earlier, is trying to keep him alive. They hijack the ambulance and are driving, and the police know that they've hijacked the ambulance pretty early on. So they're basically at like 5 stars in GTA. So we have all these cop cars following this ambulance.
That's literally the note I had written with GTA. Well done. Go ahead.
Yeah, and the entire time they very desperately want to just destroy this ambulance and just blow it up, but they know they can't kill one of their brother cops. And the entire time there will be, it's a Murphy's Law movie. Anything that could go wrong does go wrong. There are moments where they're like, he's running out of blood. And I was like, fuck, I'm a universal donor.
Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about that whole kind of search. So let's just kind of by the way, full spoilers, not a whole lot to spoil, but full spoilers. So, okay. The action in this, there are several drone shots in this movie, and I'm going to be real, y'all. It kicks ass. It kicks so much ass. Like, it's so cool. Like, done in a way that, like, I went, wow, this feels really innovative. And I'm like, okay, babe. Like,
in a way that truly pushes forward cinema, because we look at so many movies with drone shots and they try and imitate what cameras do. And this movie, we should say, $40 million, looks at least like maybe 150 is being generous, It looks expensive. And one of the ways they managed to get through so much of it is by, you got a limited cast in one location, you film all the scenes of the ambulance on their own, and everything else is just Michael Bay borrowing LA cop cars and using a ton of drones and crashing them into each other and occasionally losing a few drones in the process.
Oh man. And so the way that they use a drone for these sweeping shots and for these chase scenes are genuinely incredible. I just rewatched Fury Road a couple nights ago, which kicks so much ass. I love that fucking movie. And watching that, I went, man, this is on par with that as far as the initial ambulance chase scene. And it's very similar to Fury Road in that fact that after a certain point, it really is just a really long chase. And yet the things, to your point, the whole Murphy's Law aspect of, oh man, this cop is, oh man, we need to go ahead and perform surgery on this cop. Oh fuck, that sucks. And oh shit, this cover is blown. And oh, this plan went wrong. And just the amount, like, you feel the walls closing in the whole movie. Kind of similar, and this is such a weird comparison, kind of similar to Queen and Slim in a way that you're like, at a certain point, you kind of go, all right, the movie can only end one way. Like, there's really no way that there's a quote happy ending for these two, nor really probably should there be. But
no, not at all.
But the mythos, the actual, I can't believe I'm saying mythos in Michael Bay film, but the general right and wrong conversation that this movie, I think, really does warrant, because Will is doing what, let's call it what it is, most people in Gotham would do. Fuck, most people in America would do. Like, oh man, if I have a chance to actually pull myself out of this, considering what I gave this country and they're giving me nothing back, would you take the shot? I think more people, if you're being honest with yourself, would do what Will did. And there is that point where it's like, oh shit, like, I'm in, to quote Sum 41, I'm in too deep here. And Danny is just escalating more and more and more and becoming more and more unhinged. And
it reminded me a lot of Good Time in that way, where it felt that, not that Yahya is the mentally handicapped brother in any way, but Danny is certainly somebody who just, no matter what, he's going to make the wrong decision. And so much of it is, he's not just, they're trying to keep the cop alive. They're trying to keep the cops from killing them at any given moment. They're trying to control everything in this situation that has already been fucked from like minute 30 or 20 or whatever. I can't tell what the amount that time runs in this movie. But the thing that this really stands out to me with most Michael Bay films, and I think it's something he hasn't had in a long, probably since The Rock, is this is the one Michael Bay movie with a drive, a place to go, a reason for the action. You watch this movie and there's shit blowing up, but there's actually a reason for it. There's an end game.
Yeah, like we talked about Bad Boys 2, and while I love Bad Boys 2, there's just that point, that last 20, 30 minutes where it is just explosions for the sake of explosions. It's like, okay, like it becomes white noise at a point. To your point, with all the action here, when cop cars are getting flipped, and there's an insanely intense sniper moment that I went, oh fuck, this is bad. There's so many moments like that where the action actually feels earned. And to your point again, that's something that we haven't really had from Bay in a minute. I want to talk about, I know we mentioned her, but Isa Gonzalez's Cam. What I really like about her is what a couple of my friends who work in the medical field, the conversation that we've had, in the sense of, where do you draw that emotional line between being great at your job and just, being able to detach when you clock out. And there are a couple scenes with her and her partner where, he's like trying to get to know her, and she's just like, yeah, this is a job, like, cool, whatever. But to see her go through this, let's call it what it is, extremely traumatic experience, where there's a couple points where Danny just points a gun at her, and I'm like, oh man, he might actually shoot her right here.
He's so unpredictable.
Yeah.
Because you'll have moments where people will be like, talking to him on the phone, be like, you're not going to fucking do anything, Danny. You're already down shit creek. You don't want to, like, whatever the fuck any of these other side characters, which, we're talking about a lot of the character drama and all of that. This isn't really like a super deep movie. It's, I mean, all the flashbacks to their childhood are touching, but they're touching in a way that feels like wartime propaganda from the 50s. I'm like, when do they grow up? Like, they're sitting on 50s era cars and they're playing cowboys and Indians. I'm like, shouldn't they? Is this like 1993 or something?
Yeah, like shouldn't they have a Game Boy or something like that?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But you know what though?
It works.
It does, and the actors do a great job of selling the fact that they are actually brothers. Which, to your point again, with very little, if any, real technical backstory, which is in itself a feat, because that just shows how great these two actors work off each other. But there's a scene where, and I mentioned it, where Cam has to go ahead and do the surgery on the cop.
Yes, I was trying to bring up this scene. It's so good,
and it's a wonderful ticking clock scene, because she is FaceTiming her like former partner, and Danny's such a dick. He's like, oh hey, who is this? Oh hey, by the way, I have the girl essentially that you're fucking at fucking gunpoint. You need to walk her through this shit. It's like, oh, that's bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a bullet in her fucking head if you don't. It's just insane.
Like, what's weird? I kept thinking, like, this is kind of what Public Enemies wanted to be, because like Danny is that charming bank robber where I'm like, okay, he does have a swagger to about him. They talk about how he's robbed like 35 banks or something like that,
which
like,
I can't believe, because he was so quick to pull out a gun.
and I'll be real, that is my one kind of actual gripe, is that the movie sells you on the fact that like he's been doing this for forever, and I'm like, yeah, to your point, Nathan, like, dude, as trigger happy as you are, in theory, you should have been caught by now, unless,
I mean, This movie is filled with ridiculous shit. I mean, we could talk about the FBI involvement, where there's a twist that apparently that he infiltrated the FBI school to learn how FBI agents think.
Yeah.
And it only serves the reason of having a guy yell at another guy and say, well, your buddy is going to get a lot of people killed.
Yeah, between that and also, by the way, the FBI negotiators are fucking terrible in this movie because they really are egging Danny on, like, oh yeah, you're not gonna do shit. And Danny's like, oh cool, let me shoot at these fucking cops as they're driving up on us. I'm like, yeah, because you keep egging them on. Like, don't do that shit. And it
Can we
actually
say all this with a simple hook? I mean, the cartel gets involved. This movie's fucking nuts.
but at the same time, I was engaged the whole time. And
Yeah, couldn't take me off the seat.
And I have to give Bay credit for that because, yes, if you think about this movie too long, yes, you could absolutely just go, yep, no, that's dumb, that's dumb, that's dumb. But this is one of those rare cases for Bay that I would say every actor in this movie knew exactly what their job was. Everyone actually does their job really well. The action more than keeps you engaged.
Oh, yeah.
When as Cam goes through this whole journey, there's this point where she uses a fire extinguisher and almost escapes. And the way Danny goes, bitch, stop or I'll shoot you right now. I went, yeah, he's serious. Like,
well, that's
nice
my favorite line in the movie comes at that point with the, this is cashmere. Fuck.
Yeah.
Which, like, why are you wearing cashmere to this?
So, okay, speaking of that, as a Black dude, I have to bring this up because it's probably outside of the whole FBI shit. It really is probably my biggest, just like, oh God, really, dude. The moment Will saw this like hipster looking dude wearing sandals for this fucking heist, I'm like, you should have went, I'm out, because he was not taking shit seriously. And he gets killed, rightfully so, because he's a dumbass. And I went, yeah.
That dude gets the fuck killed out of him now that I'm remembering it.
Does he get ran over?
Yeah, he gets ran over and then they pull him and he's like, you're a dumbass. Why'd you wear the Birkenstocks? As if, like, regardless, he would have gotten hit by a car.
Which, yeah, I laughed hard at that, though, because I went, yeah, dude, why the fuck? Like, wear some running shoes. Like, don't wear that shit. So when that happened, I went, yeah, fair enough. And that is one other thing I will say real quick. The action is violent in this. Like, there is like it's almost on a like really on an ascent, because at first you kind of see like, okay, people getting shot from, you know, kind of far away or being shot at from far away. But once homeboy gets run over, it's pretty much off to the races as far as the violence. And I went, oh, okay, so we're up in this. Which, good.
I just let out like a
like but it's one of those things where it feels raw, it feels brutal, it really feels like the city of LA, the fact that's taking place there. LA is showcased in a way that is like beautiful and yet dark at the same time. It's like it's almost like Gotham LA at points, because the way that they just fuck up LA. There's this point where with this lowrider and the chain gun, that when that scene happens, I just went, holy shit. Like, that car causes so much fucking damage. And the way the camera, again, using the drone shot, sweeps around, the way that you get some really effective slow-mos, you see bullets going through people, cutting people up like, you know, like raw meat. It's almost like Speed mixed with Rambo at points. Like, it's so weird.
Speed is certainly like the number one influence on this movie.
Absolutely. But
this is just a movie that we don't get anymore. This is the kind of 90s action movie that would, like, the fact that this movie is underperforming. I think we should just say, I mean, everybody, we said spoiler warning earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to cut this in the head of it or whatever. See this movie, support this movie. This movie rules. This movie's a lot of fun, especially if, like, the basic premise or just action movies of this ilk are, if you're an action movie fan, even if you love it or hate it, you got to kind of support something like this, especially for how little amount of money it costs.
Yeah. And the one thing another thing I will give Bay credit for, there's an ADT alarm like product placement thing, but it's done so quickly. It's like at the very beginning of the movie, it's like 20 seconds. It's not horse like in Transformers films. It's like, oh, ADT is what they use for their alarms. All right, moving on. There's really none of that shit. And so there's a gay couple in here that's mentioned, and it's done like it's not a big deal. Like there's no,
they're treated with decency.
Yeah.
You know, it sucks because we shouldn't be giving him points for this,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
you know, like we were talking earlier where there's a moment where they're like, huh, you guys are brothers, you don't look that much alike. And I was like, oh man, don't make this a fucking joke. Don't make this a fucking joke. And then by like minute 120 or whatever, you get that scene where somebody's like, well, that's not your real brother, we'll just kill him. And then they have like a fake argument, and then you get freaking Jake Gyllenhaal saying, you said he's my fake brother, he is my real brother, after he shoots him in like the most badass spectacle you've ever seen. And you're just like, fuck yes, this is how you direct, Michael Bay. From now on, this is how you fucking direct.
And by the way, he doesn't just shoot the guy who says it, he shoots like the room full of people in there.
Oh, it's so good.
And it's so well shot. It is like, it's a badass moment for Danny in a way. I went, okay, man, like let's fucking go. But seeing Will's morality being questioned the whole time in itself is fascinating as far as his journey. And again, I brought up American Gangster intentionally for that reason. Like, yes, like you have someone who's a drug dealer. Yes, that's wrong. But then you have, you know, like let's call it what it is, a corrupt cop who works for a very, like at its roots, corrupt fucking system. Like who's actually more wrong. And so when Danny's kind of talking to Will about, dude, they were supposed to take care of you, and they're not, like, what the fuck? And I kind of went, Danny's not wrong, but also don't rob banks, but also he's not wrong. And it's one of those things that as I sat there and watched the movie and you see the walls close in, I just went, yeah, I'm all about this movie. It's something that I'm very proudly hoping there's a steelbook of, because I will be buying this movie. This is one of those movies that I would definitely have people over and be like, all right, we're gonna smoke a bowl, we're gonna have some beers, and we're gonna just like enjoy the pageantry that this movie does represent. Because just from a technical aspect, I could argue it's in Bay's top 5 films. Maybe.
Oh, it's for sure in a top 5 for him, just period for me.
Yeah, like it's so well done. Chris Fedek, who wrote the screenplay, I immediately recognize that name because he's a creator of Chuck, and I fucking love Chuck with all my fucking heart and soul. He's also done some stuff for Legends of Tomorrow. What else? That really random show that no one watched, starring the old Mr. Fantastic, that show Forever that lasted a season.
He also is a sentient bag of cocaine, because the screenplay is fucking insane.
It felt like him and Bay did some cocaine together. I would not be surprised if this is one of those it felt like one of those movies. But it felt like Jake Gyllenhaal just emerged from the bag of cocaine and was like, hey guys, what's up? I mean, and honestly, if this is what we're gonna be getting from Gyllenhaal, if he wants to do more cocaine, or Bay wants to do more cocaine, go ahead. You know, pull a Dewey.
more power to you guys.
Yeah. But getting to the final thoughts here, I have to. Oh, and Wale is in this movie, and that made me incredibly happy because I love that dude. But there's this shot of there's a shot where Gyllenhaal, Danny, is dripping sweat, and the cops are about to potentially open the back of the ambulance, and there's a slow-mo of Danny like loading his gun, being potentially ready to shoot his way out of the back of the ambulance before Cam is like, no, there's no one back here, we're good. In that shot, that's one of my favorite shots Bay's done in a couple films. I went, wow, that is a really inspired shot. And there's multiple shots like that in this movie. And I don't know, like, again, we mentioned that we shouldn't be giving Bay credit for, not being sexist, not being racist, because, duh. But at the same time, for a guy where that has been an issue, maybe he is growing as a filmmaker and realizing, like, okay, I can still be Michael Bay, but not have these problematic elements that used to hinder me. He might have turned a corner, y'all. And again, like, I pray that he doesn't come out next movie and immediately just go back to what he normally does. But
one thing I will give him credit is that this was a movie where he was very much more open to more improvisation from both the cast and the crew. Apparently, so much of he's known notoriously for his very dictatorial method of filmmaking. And so much of the reason why this project was made is because he just was sitting during the pandemic and was like, I need to make a movie. There's no way, like, how can I make a movie in the middle of the pandemic? And this is his pandemic movie, which is fascinating. And this is his restrained movie. And you look at the way how people have commented on it, and it seems like he has shed that dictatorial dictator style of directing that he was so notorious for, and has become far more open to just being able to shoot as much as he can. And what he is doing in this film with drone photography alone, I think, is revolutionary to cinema, especially as we are starting to use drones more often to replace helicopters. Being able to set up a shot that would normally take most of a day, he can do in 5 seconds. So we're able to get these admittedly excessive but undeniably entertaining shots where you feel like the camera is a seagull sweeping into the middle of a scene.
Yeah.
It's actually some next level filmmaking, and it's something that people won't want to give him credit for, but he certainly should get credit for doing something more interesting with drones than we have ever seen before, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you. Like, he really did just use this technology in a way that really did enhance the movie. It felt similar at points when I was watching something like Upgrade or like Hardcore Henry, where I'm just
like the first Evil Dead.
Yeah, where it's like the camera work. I'm like, wow, this really enhances something that I'm already, fucking digging. As far as my grade, I've been going back and forth on this, to be honest, because of how much I enjoyed it. And I gotta be clear, I enjoyed this. Like, I actually got out of the theater and was like, dude, hell yeah, I'd turn back around and see that again if I wasn't so tired.
I would be tired after what you had.
Yeah, like, dude, this is 6 hours of movies, basically. So I'm gonna give this an A-. Like, I enjoyed this so much, and if I paid full price for this, because admittedly I did use a credit because I'm just stacking those up at a point right now, but I'll be real, if I'd seen this, paid $13, I've been like, yeah, that was worth $13, not just for my enjoyment, but from all the technical shit that I really admired, to the fact that I'm gonna buy it. I'll probably pre-order it when it comes out on 4K. I'm excited to watch it again on my big ass TV, but honestly, go out and support something like this. This is something, even if you need to go see it at a matinee, go see it. It's wonderful. Yeah, Nathan, your final thoughts and grades, sir.
I mean, I've been a big Bay fan for a while now, and it's been really disappointing that he directed 5 Transformers films, because I can defend the first one and I can try and defend the third one, and everybody will, get on my ass about that, and that's fine. That's totally fine. I'm not as passionate about those films as I am about the other ones in his career. The Rock is, I think, a perfect action movie, and I don't think this is absolutely perfect. There's certainly areas where it's bloated, but goddamn, if this is not something that feels like something of a masterwork by somebody who's in the later era of his career. And it's the kind of film we don't get anymore, that sort of 90s action movie that would be playing on cable and probably will be on FX, like on and on and on again. And it's a fun fucking movie. It's one of those movies where you can certainly pick holes in it. And if this was Cinema Sins, we could ding every single moment of it. Why is the day endless? Oh my gosh, didn't it start at dusk? Blah, blah, blah. All that. So the cops hate FBI guys. But if you just allow yourself to give over to this experience that is very insane yet kind of invigorating and unique, it's worth going to sit in a theater, especially with the best sound system you can possibly find. And it sucks that this movie is not doing well, because
like
we talked about this privately, but all the movies that Bay is passionate about making are generally ones that people like, or at least the people that like them really like them. And we put him in this box and decided that, hey, he is this awful filmmaker that makes this Hollywood garbage. And sadly, we only show up for his Hollywood garbage. We don't show up for his absolutely trashy, fun thrillers / action movies. You know, we should be supporting this side of him more than we support the other side.
I agree with that 1,000%. Because this is one of those movies that I think this will be one of those movies at the end of the year that people do discover and kind of go like, oh, yeah, I probably should have. And I would, again, I really would tell people, I'm sure it's still playing somewhere near you, but go see us on a $5 Tuesday if you have to, but go see it though. At worst, I think people would give this like a B-. Like,
I have not met a single person who hates this movie, which is rare for a Michael Bay movie.
Yeah, that is.
That's absolutely rare. But yeah, no, I would probably give it around the same that you have, a B-, B+. It's one of those movies that, like, it's not going to make my end of the year list.
Oh, no.
But I saw it twice.
So
I liked it that much.
So I'm giving this an A- strictly because of not just my enjoyment, which obviously that will vary for everyone, but from a technical aspect, that I think alone gets it to a B- in the character work. I think from there it's up to you to kind of determine where you fall, but I don't think an A- is being too generous. And I fully acknowledge, again, like, I slept on this. I saw this on Friday evening around 3:00 or afternoon around 3:00. So I've had a couple days. I was going back and forth between B+ and A-, but just because of my enjoyment, I'm gonna land on that. I'm gonna land on that A-. I really enjoyed this. So where'd you land, man? You gotta give it.
You know what? Fuck it. I said B-. I'll give this a B+. This is a fucking fun time.
Fair enough.
Yeah, like I have issues with the stuff that you have issues with every Bay movie with.
Yeah,
and this feels like I'm rating movies on a curve. And I'm an interesting movie watcher in general, so
that is definitely true.
So, but you know, I can't rate this like I'd rate a Michael Mann movie. I can't rate this like I'd watch a Scorsese movie. If Martin Scorsese delivered this, I'd be like, Jesus, like, what have you been taking? Right. But as a Michael Bay movie, as an action movie that follows by action movie logic, I can't imagine not at least being like, you know, that was a way to spend my time. This was an experience, and it really is an experiential movie more than anything. And this movie takes a break for a sing-along.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So that bit was fucking awesome. I thought that was again, fun, laughed a lot, but it's a nice little break in all the insanity that's going around. Like,
well, also kind of being insane in and of themselves, because they have cops right next to them, and Jake Gyllenhaal's like, fuck, I need to chill out, man. He's like, hand me an AirPod.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I had so much fun with this, and just the more I the more I think about it, I'm like, yeah, that E minus, I'm gonna roll with that. But
this is a repeat viewing movie for sure. This is one that people are going to queue on for their friends, like you said, smoke a bowl and just be like, I can't believe they flew a drone underneath a cop car as it was like fucking tumbling over, you know?
which is just insane, but in the best way. But
yeah, I mean, he can't calm down the camera for a second. They fly drones inside the bank that they're robbing.
which is, oh my gosh, it's so goddamn absurd. But I digress. Yeah, y'all, go see this shit. Go see it. You'll have fun. But Nathan, thank you so much for being on, man. I appreciate you. Can you please tell the people where they can find you?
Well, our podcast has been on a hiatus that is probably going to be for a while. That, hey, Mission Impossible is on a hiatus right now, so I guess it's fitting.
Yeah, exactly.
But we have like 45, 47 episodes that are just sitting there for your enjoyment, and we'll be getting back to other things soon. But you can find me on Twitter at Nathan Flynn. You can find me on Facebook, I guess you can find me on Facebook. Don't have me on Facebook. I don't even know why I said that. And then you can find my podcast Mission Impodible wherever you look for podcasts. It's on Spotify. It's IMPODIBLE.
Boom. And of course, you can follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. You can find The Real Pineapple most places you listen to podcasts: SoundCloud, Apple, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music. You can follow me on Letterboxd now, because I'm actually using my Letterboxd now because I'm trying to log all the shit I watch. I'm starting my Bond rewatch tomorrow. My Bond watch tomorrow. So real quick segue. I have not seen, 80% of the Bond films.
Oh man.
Yeah, because I've seen all of Brosnan's. I have not seen any other complete Bond's filmography outside of Craig. So
Roger Moore is a smoke a joint period if I've ever seen one. His
I
first film is a blaxploitation film.
Okay, so I've heard about it, but I know nothing about these movies. I've seen From Russia with Love once, just to put
that's a good movie.
So I'm starting that tomorrow. So everyone, this will be down the road, but I'm going to be reviewing every single Bond film, which I'm really excited to do. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, but it's fun.
But yeah, I have not seen the Bond films. I'm gonna start watching those tomorrow. But we'll have reviews up here soon for what do I have reviews coming up for? Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, of course. Come on, Sam Raimi. Come on, buddy.
Please be a Raimi movie. Please be a Raimi movie.
I think it's gonna be. And then I was gonna go see Father Stu, but fuck that. I'll rather wait for $5.99 to pay for that shit. I don't want to give Mark Wahlberg $10.
Wait, Fathers too? Oh,
Fathers too. Yeah.
The way how you said that, I was like, I don't think I saw Fathers 1.
No. No, that is not a film, at least that I'm aware of.
Yeah, but Father Stu, I saw that. Jesus Christ, man.
I literally, yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
But gonna have a review
Happy Easter.
Right. But we're gonna have a review up for The Worst Person in the World here soon, because I have not watched that and I really want to watch that.
Best movie of the year, more like that.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it, but we'll have reviews up for that. We'll have a review up for X here soon, for Fantastic Beasts: Crimes of Grindelwald, which that's the other one.
Secrets of Dumbledore.
See, that's how little I care about Fantastic Beasts. God fucking damn it!
Well, you can't confuse the two of them. I mean,
yeah, right. Because dude, if this
that Grindelwald is a criminal, but Dumbledore, is only crime is all the secrets he keeps.
I hate so much. That's probably exactly how the pitch meeting went there. Like the way you said that, I was like, oh god, I felt like I was in a Warner Bros. Room. Right?
It's funny how little people give a shit about the most prominent franchise when I was growing up.
made under $50 million domestic this weekend, which is the lowest opening.
Oh, it's pulling a Morbius?
It is pulling a Morbius. So just Warner Brothers, if you want to keep doing Harry Potter shit, just put money into the games. Please stop making these movies. Just let them die. Who cares?
Also, theater goers, stop looking to see hey, is this Fantastic Beasts movie still going to disappoint me? Is Morbius going to disappoint me? Yes, they are going to. Go see AmbuLAnce. Go see Everything Everywhere All at Once. Go see X. Go see movies that you're rolling the dice on. Roll the dice a little. Come on, get into the dirt.
And Nathan and I have had this conversation off mic multiple points, but I will just simply say this. If you think a movie's going to be bad, if you have to see it, and again, I'm not here to tell you how to spend your money, but if you have to go see it, see that shit on an early matinee or $5 Tuesday. Don't give the movie full price. Like, know your worth, know your time. Go see some stuff that's non-IP. I got to see a trailer for that movie Men that's coming out. I'm hyped for that shit.
Garland.
Yeah.
Fantastic director.
Yeah, Ex Machina and Annihilate.
Ex Machina was my favorite of that year, and Creed came out that year.
Yeah, like
kind of talk to me. I love Creed.
It's a great fucking movie. Like go watch shit like that. Expand your bubble a little bit. Don't just stick with IPs. But everyone, as I sound more and more like a pretentious critic, stay safe out there, everyone. Please get your COVID shot for the love of fuck if you've not gotten it yet. Stay safe out there. Take care of each other, and happy Easter, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. All right.